up, strong, quite a strong and quick concentration of what's going on in the practice. Yeah. So we'll start with Surya Namaskar, and then we're going to move into a number of standing poses, some of which will be familiar, and I'm pretty sure a few of them we won't have practiced that regularly. So where you find the pose challenging, we're just going to modify it a little bit or leave a bit off to make it more accessible, because I'm not going to break the poses down in great detail in this session, okay? And we'll finish off with 2 or 3 sitting poses and some meditation. Okay? All right then, so let's take a couple of minutes, if we may, just seated in any seating position you want, doesn't really matter. So rather than lying down and starting, we'll just start from sitting, and I'm going to come to standing and pretty much move straight into the sun salutation and then beyond. Okay. But before we do that, let's just let ourselves make the transition from whatever we've been doing to this space, this practice space. Making a conscious and deliberate effort to let go of whatever's going on outside the door of the space you're practicing. You can even just leave it there imaginatively. And I'm going to ask you, just invite you to connect with the breath, diaphragmatic breath. And we just pay attention to the simplicity of the breath for a couple of minutes, the in-breath and the out-breath. We make a little bit of effort, bring a bit more energy into the breath so that we extend the breath into the area of the belly, filling the lower lobes of the lungs. And you can even imagine breathing into the whole body. So it's as if the whole body is being filled with the breath. The periphery of the body, the back of the body, as well as the front, the head. We've just established some connection with the 4 areas of awareness that we work with, that form our ongoing flowing process that we call ourselves, which is the body and its sensations. Sensations as unpleasant, pleasant and neutral, state of mind, emotions. Just getting a view of how we are at the beginning of the practice session. And we're just going to observe as we practice tonight how these things, these processes adapt and change, how one experience moves into another. So we're going to be doing this physically. We're going to also watch what happens mentally and emotionally. From one experience to the next. And it's only the awareness itself that we can really rely on. We can only really ground ourselves in the awareness itself, because the rest of what we're aware of is changing. Just another moment here with the breath. Now I'm going to ask you to come up onto the feet to the front of the mat. So I've got a camera position which is more upper body, not so much the legs. But you should get the gist of what's going on in the poses. So come to the front of your mat, leave a small space between the feet so the feet are not closed together. Feet parallel with slightly turned inwards, weight dropping down just in front of the heel and spreading through the front of the foot. And start to get a little bit of a sense of working with Pada Bandha. So Pada Bandha in the feet is the activation of the feet. Gentle lateral stretch and pressing down to the floor. Okay, and then Hasta Bandha in the hands. So spreading the hands open like wings. Broadening the palm, broadening through the fingers and extending to the fingertips. And then growing the spine upwards to the crown. So we start off from a position of feeling grounded. And grounded to our body, grounded to the breath. And we're not anticipating what we're going to do next. We're just going to do it without thought. Just engage the body in the movement, simple movements. So we've done this particular practice probably some of us 1,000 times or more. So let's try not to let it be automatic, just to be aware of the movements. So on your next inhalation, turning the palms up, bringing the hands above the head on the in-breath, sweeping the hands up on one movement. On the exhalation, folding forwards from the hips. Feel free to bend your knees if you need to. Drop the head all the way down, looking to the ground, hands down, step your right foot back, the length of your leg, right back, looking forwards into lunge. So on our fingertips, stepping back and lowering, keeping the elbows tucked into the side of the body, lower the chin to the floor, and then the chest comes forwards and up, extending into the legs. Bhujangasana, chin down, pressing the hands to the floor, tuck the toes under and lift the buttocks, lift the pelvis. We're going to use downward facing dog quite a bit tonight as the transition for the standing poses. But we'll spend less time in it generally than we're going to do to begin with. Okay, so broaden the hands, grounding the hands and feet, lifting through the arms and through the legs to the pelvis. Neck lengthening, crown of the head extending to the floor, albeit gently. It's not a big gesture, it's a small movement of the head extending, not protracting. Now bringing your knees to the floor, step your left foot forwards. Chest and heart center come forwards and up. Tucking your back toe under and lifting the back knee and stepping forwards. Exhaling into the legs. Let your body come into the legs as closely as possible. Release the head. On the next in-breath, press down through the feet. Lengthen the spine, come back up to standing. On smooth movement, hands above the head. Palms of the hands to the heart center, and then we're going to come straight back into the next cycle. Inhaling, grounding the feet. Out breath, keep the awareness in the sensations of the movements. Hands down, take your right foot back. Looking forwards, bringing the heart center forwards, head up. Tucking your left foot back, take your left foot back, and lower the chest to the floor, keeping the elbows tucked in, remember. Okay, sliding forwards and bringing the heart center and head and shoulders up, extending into the legs. Bhujangasana, exhale, back to downward facing dog. On smooth movement, transitioning between one pose and the next. Grounding the hands again, just re-clarifying this sense of growing the spine in both directions. So the spine that telescopically unfolds towards the head, towards the sacrum. Weight drawing around to the small finger side of the hand. Okay, shifting the weight forwards. This time bringing the right foot forwards on smooth movement into lunge. From lunge, back foot comes forwards and we fold again into the legs. Bringing the body as close into the legs as we can on the exhale. On the in-breath, back to standing, one smooth movement. Watch your back. So keep your spine long and your knees bent if you need to, okay? Once again, inhale, extend the arms up, exhale, as if diving off the top of a building. So there's the emphasis on lengthening the spine and bending the knees as you need to. Hands down, left foot back. This time we're going to move a bit more swiftly through the sequence. Chest towards the floor, forwards into Bhujangasana. Inhale, raise the head. Exhale, tuck the chin in, press through the hands and come into downward facing dog. One smooth movement. So remember, the emphasis is more on the movement, the connection between the poses. We talk about this as building a mala, the mala practice. 5 more breaths in downward facing dog. Just experience downward facing dog a bit more fully. Bringing the weight forwards, knees down, step your left foot forwards. Chest comes forwards, lifting the head and chest up into lunge and stepping the back foot forwards, folding into the legs. And on your next in-breath, up you come back to standing. Okay, one more cycle. Exhaling, folding forwards again. Hands down, right foot back. Left foot back. All the way through to Bhujangasana, this time without stopping or pausing at any point. Exhale into downward facing dog. Looking forwards now to the front of your mat, you're going to walk your feet forwards. I'd like you to bring your feet together once you arrive at the front of the mat. Okay, bending the knees, keeping the front part of the pelvis lifted up and the tailbone tucked under. Going to raise the hands up above the shoulders. Okay, keeping the tailbone tucked under, so the front of the pelvis lifted up. So the work goes into the thighs. Then see if you can draw your spine upright a bit more. Okay, chest out, arms extending upwards. Exhaling, folding forwards, all the way down, taking the hands to the floor. Walking both feet back, coming straight into downward facing dog. So we're missing out the lunge part of the sequence. I'm going to turn the right heel in. Beg your pardon, turn your left heel in, not your right heel. Step your right foot forwards to the front of the mat, okay? I want you to set your feet up before you lift the hands off the floor into the position for Trikonasana, okay? Your position, so wide foot stance, heel looking back towards the inner arch. Okay, we're going to take the right hand onto the right leg and we're going to come up from there, turning the trunk to the long edge of the mat and the pelvis. And then, if we feel like it, extending the arm above the shoulder. If not, keep the hand resting on the hip. Okay. Keeping the body in a one plane position, grounding the feet, engage the thighs. So keep the energy very active in the lower part of the body throughout the practice, because this is what creates the base for the work in the upper body. Okay, growing the spine. And then bring your breath back into focus. So if we let go of the breath, come back into the breath, especially diaphragmatic breathing. So an intentionally full breath. Exhaling, looking to the floor. You're going to take your hand down to the floor, bending your front knee, turn your back foot forwards, and then your other hand comes down onto the floor. And then we're going to step the front foot back, coming straight back into downward facing dog from there. Right, now turning the right heel in, left foot forwards. Same setup, wide stance, heel looking back towards the inner arch. Okay, left hand onto the shin and then press up from there. As you come up, make sure that you emphasize pressing your feet to the floor so the energy comes through the legs. And then turn to the long edge of the mat, rotating the spine gently. Tailbone tucked in. Extending the right arm above the shoulder. So one plane. Pose the head, looking down or looking out or looking up. So inhabiting the whole body with awareness, okay? Especially the periphery of the body, because that's where we first start to lose contact, our awareness. Feet and the hands, forearms, shins, keeping the legs active. Okay, bending the front knee slightly, bringing the upper hand down to the floor all the way. Back foot turns forwards, other hand down, and step back into downward facing dog again. Okay. From there, bringing your left heel in again, stepping your right foot forward, so it's pretty much the same stance, although we're doing a different pose altogether. Okay, so we're going to practice Ardha Chandrasana, and later on we're going to practice Pravrita Ardha Chandrasana, which is quite a tricky pose. So then you're going to walk your back foot in a bit more. Look on the floor in front of your foot and place your hand down. So connect your gaze to the ground, fingertips on the floor, front knee bent. You're going to begin to lift the back leg, extending the back leg straight out. So really extend it back, send the energy out through the pelvis, through the foot, and then slowly straightening your standing supporting leg if you can. Okay, looking to the floor, keep your balance. Left hip turns up and it's on top of the right hip. Okay, so it's a sideways balance. So the body's facing the long edge of the mat. Really pay attention to the standing leg, engage it firmly. See if you can lift the leg a bit higher if you're into the pose, higher than the pelvis. All right, bending the front knee, take the back foot down, all the way down to the floor. And bring both hands down onto the floor beneath the shoulders. Step your front foot back again, come back into downward facing dog once again. Okay, very good. Good, okay, we're going to bring the right heel in, step the left foot forwards this time. Again, setting up the base for Trikonasana. You might want to walk your back foot in slightly, look at the floor, take the hand down onto the floor, a foot in front of the foot. Okay, coming up with the back leg extending, left hip, right hip turning onto the left hip, and gradually straighten your front leg. Growing the spine and extending and growing the back leg. So keep on trying to bring the back hip around, turning the hip over and on top of the other hip so that your body is side on one plane, not unlike Trikonasana. Okay. Engage the breath. Okay, release down, bend your front knee, lower your back leg down, both hands on the floor, and stepping back again into downward facing dog. So working downward facing dog for a little bit longer. Grounding the hands, grounding the feet. Okay, we're going to bring the left heel in and step the right foot forward. This time we're facing the front edge of the mat, so we're coming up in the setup for Bhujangasana, all the way up from here. So wide stance, tram lining position with the feet, pelvis looking forwards. Bring the hands forwards and around. Okay, and then connecting the palms of the hands together, marry the palms of the hands together, if that works. If it doesn't work, you know the alternative is to bring the hands onto the elbows. Okay, don't force your hands into a position they don't want to take. Just more your wrists that will suffer. Pressing the ulnar side of the palm into the spine, so your small finger side of the hand into the spine. Okay, bringing the heart center up. Engage the legs powerfully, so you're really paying attention here to what's going on in the legs, because that's the support for the practice. Okay. Now, as you exhale, you're going to extend forwards, moving from the hips, grounding the energy through the legs. Okay, body parallel to the floor, lengthening the waist. If you feel that you're a bit more ready for it, a bit more practiced, you can lower the body slowly down towards the leg. Okay. Chin heading out towards the big toe. Re-engage in awareness with the breath. So remember, the breath is that which is supporting the whole process here. Navel turning towards, more and more towards the knee. Grounding through the legs, grounding the whole pose through the legs. Okay, unlock your front knee gently, press down through the front foot, inhale, up you come. I'm going to sweep the arms up, one breath. Exhale, take the hands onto the floor and step back into downward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Once we're there, turning the right heel in, step the left foot forwards. Okay, similar stance coming up. Once again, engaging the legs through the feet to the floor. Extend the arms forwards and around the back, marrying the palms of the hands together if you can, but if not, once again, take the elbows. Okay, on the side of the hand, gently pressing in and lifting the thoracic spine. So there's a sense of in and up, opening the heart center. Okay, navel towards the knee, extending, moving from the pelvis, either come into a parallel position, or if you're a bit more practiced, slowly lowering down. Okay. Keep the feet really strongly engaged through the legs. Try to bring a sense of calm into the pose, even though the pose is actually really demanding on you. In terms of concentration, focus, try to bring a sense of just releasing any extraneous effort. So use what's necessary. Don't overuse your energy. Okay, releasing the front knee, push through your front foot, keep the spine long as you come up. One breath. Good. Arms extending up, releasing. Forwards on the exhale, taking the hands down and stepping back again into downward facing dog. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Good. Okay, Virabhadrasana 1. We're going to practice Virabhadrasana from here again, lifting and bringing the left heel in, stepping the right foot forwards this time. Again, a wide stance, front heel looking back towards the inner arch. Ground your feet through Pada Bandha. Lift up. I'm going to come into the setup position for Virabhadrasana. So looking to the side of the mat, pelvis and body on the long edge of the mat. Extend the arms out to the side, slightly higher than the shoulders. Okay, so I know you can't really see very clearly what I'm doing. Plus a few more words. Okay, releasing the front knee, drop the pelvis down, but keep the pelvis tucked in. Pelvis tucked under rather, tailbone in slightly. Okay, so you can broaden through the front of the pelvis, looking out through the right arm to right fingertips. All the while growing the spine gently. So the spine is growing up. And then come back to the breath again, because the breath gets lost, it gets trapped if we're trying too much in the pose. Sense of broadening through the body, that kind of energy of the warrior, which goes with the name of the pose. We have to make subtle adjustments in the pose, we make them, okay? So whatever needs to be adjusted, we just adjust it. Okay, walking our back foot in a little bit so that we can bend the front knee more and bring the hands all the way down to the floor so that we can step the front foot back. So doing almost all of our transitions from the downward facing dog position. Right foot in or right heel in, left foot forwards. Okay, coming up, grounding the feet already, thinking about the effort through the legs. And extending and looking towards the left side, left arm out, right arm up as well. Okay, so just get a full sense of this preliminary position, sort of set up part of the pose. Broadening and lengthening, spine growing, and an expansion through the trunk, laterally through the trunk as well. Okay, lowering the pelvis, we're going to bend the knee. The energy drawing back through the right arm. So we're not extending out and over the right leg, or the left leg, sorry. We're extending back through the right arm. Grow the trunk, look out towards the left fingertips. Sense of calm, sense of poise. Keeping the peripheral part of the postures active, so the hands and the feet are engaged. Pada Pasta Bandha. Okay, so you're going to walk your back foot in a little bit just to make it easier to make the transition. Upper hand comes all the way down onto the floor, first of all. Do this in such an order that we support ourselves as we come down. Turning your back foot forwards and stepping your front foot back. Downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, we're going to come all the way down into Chaturanga Dandasana, or just bring the body down to the floor in the so-called 8-point pose. Okay. From there, Bhujangasana again. Head, chest, and shoulders lifting, legs engaged back. Exhale, tuck the chin in, down onto the chest, and then press back up once again into downward facing dog. Good. Let's come down into child pose for a moment. It's the only time in the practice we're going to break the flow, as it were. So resting the pelvis back towards the heels, trunk resting on the legs. Release the effort for 10 breaths. So coming into a still point. Extending your hands forwards, we're going to return again to downward facing dog. Next, we're coming into Bodhiyoga-16. Okay, so from the downward facing dog position, I'd like you to bring your left heel in, step your right foot forwards. So it's pretty much the same setup as many poses that we've done. Front heel looking back to the inner arch in the middle. Okay, from there, we're going to use the right hand on the right knee just to press ourselves up for a moment. Extending the arms out to the side. On the exhale, we're going to bend the front knee, so it's the right knee, and raise up the right arm. So extending the right arm to the sky. The left hand can come down and rest onto the side of the left leg, something like that. But make sure you've got the front knee bent. Okay, so you can see a knee not very bent there. All right, so there's definite emphasis on bending the right knee. Okay. All right, next step, 2 options, more experienced and less experienced. So the less experienced is to bring the forearm onto the knee without collapsing this space here between the side of the body and the leg. Okay, so keep a sense of lifting there. If you're a bit more practiced, bring your hand down onto the floor inside the foot. I'd usually say use a block for this, but I forgot to say that. And we're going to bring up the right hand. The right hand and the right arm stay this time vertical to the shoulder. We're not going to bring the hand over the head, just vertical to the shoulder. Turning the trunk gently around. So there's a gentle sense of rotation through the spine, chest turning towards the sky. Not forcefully, just gently with a breath. Back foot is alive and the back leg is active. All right, upper hand comes all the way down to the floor. Okay, because we've got quite a wide stance, we want to make sure we've got the hands down beneath the shoulders. And we're going to bring our front foot back as before. Downward facing dog, bring the right heel in, step the left foot forwards. And we come up again to the first starting point. Extend the arms out to the sides. Okay, making sure we're bringing this energy up through the legs. So just really clarify that sense of engagement in the lower body, which supports the upper body, breath as well. Okay, right hand slides down on the side of the right leg. Left arm extends up as we bend the front knee. One smooth movement, slightly arching backwards even. Good. Okay, exhaling, we're going to fold and extend, either with the supported on the leg or the hand on the floor position. Okay, once we're there, keep emphasizing the work in the legs. We're going to rotate the trunk gently towards the sky. Right arm vertical to the shoulder. Looking to the floor, looking to the side. Be aware of your head position, your neck. And just taking a stance that feels most comfortable. Okay, taking the hand all the way down to the floor. That's good. Both hands on the floor. You can walk your back foot in forward slightly if you need to, okay, before you turn it around to the front. And then slide the front foot back and come into downward facing dog. Once again, one last time. The left heel turns in, the right foot steps forwards, this time facing 2 planes, the front edge of the mat. Tram lining with the feet. You have the left foot turned in 45 degrees, right foot directly forwards. Okay. Hands on the hips, we're going to release the front knee. So we bend the front knee, dropping the pelvis down. Okay, the spine is growing out of the pelvis. So just find your position there that doesn't feel like it's putting excessive strain on the inner groin of the the back leg. Okay, so some people can go very deep into the pose, no problem. Others will feel a sense of too much compression in the joint. Now raising the arms above the shoulders. We're just going to cross the thumbs over. So bring the palms together, but the thumbs cross, not interlacing the fingers. Okay, extending up and then drawing the chin forwards and up, looking up to the sky. So we take the full expression of the pose here. Come back again to the breath. Release the shoulders down if you find you're riding up with the shoulder blades. Keep pressing through the feet evenly. All right, on all the way down with the hands. So keeping the legs engaged whilst you come down in that way, so the back doesn't take the brunt of the work. Okay, actually, this is one last time into downward dog. Change into the other side. Right heel in, left foot down. And we come up, initially with the hands on the hips. I want you to establish the leg position, lowering the pelvis, grounding the feet. Okay. And then growing through the spine, through the shoulders, through the arms. Palms together, crossing the thumbs over, bringing the chin forwards and then drawing the head back into an extension of the neck, but from a position of bringing the chin forwards first, and then lift the chin up. Okay, exhaling, taking the hands all the way down. Lowering the body to the floor. Okay, coming into Bhujangasana. Extending through the legs, lifting the heart center and the head and shoulders up. Keeping the elbows tucked into the side of the body. Exhaling down. Come up into all fours. And then from there, lift up the pelvis and just walk the feet forwards. So without coming into downward facing dog proper. So we're going to practice now Diaphragmatic, which is another balancing pose. So coming to standing position. We'll just take a pause for a moment in mountain pose, feet separated. Feet engaged, hands engaged. Hara Pastavanda, Paravanda. Spreading laterally through the feet. Grounding the feet. Arms gently extending down. So it's an expression of extension and lengthening. Spine growing upwards. You can close your eyes for the first part of this if you wish. Just standing for a moment. Just breathing in the experience as it is, however you find it. So with the physical balance, we also look for a mental sense of calm. Calm comes from groundedness. Calm comes from just paying attention to what is going on and nothing else. Okay. We're going to bring our weight onto the left leg. So this involves engaging the left leg really well, as we've done with the poses all the way through. So Padavanda engaging, pressing the foot down. Left hand on the left hip, and then you're going to bring up, you can open your eyes for this, I think it's best. Bring up your right knee and just take the right knee without losing any sense of the lengthening in the spine. Okay, and from there, we're going to bring the right knee out to the side, keeping the leg bent, opening up the front of the pelvis. Helps to rest your gaze in one place, so have a dristi or a gaze in one position. And we bring the leg back again to the center. Come down. Transfer your weight onto the right leg and then bring up the left leg, right hand on the right hip. Sense of balance there. Growing the spine again. Pressing from the foot. And then we're going to bring the leg out to the side again, opening the front groins, the front of the pelvis, but without twisting the spine. So you're going to keep the whole trajectory of the pelvis and the trunk forwards. And then bring your leg back to the center again. Okay. So we're either going to repeat that sequence, or this time I'm going to come into the full expression of the pose, whereby we bring up the foot and take the foot rather than the knee. Okay. So yeah, it's a more complicated balancing sequence than the other one. But if you just want to repeat what you've just done, that's absolutely fine. Once you have the foot, pay attention to grounding through the standing leg. Press the foot forwards, half extending or fully extending. So you're lifting the leg. Try to avoid bending the knee of the standing leg, and then out to the side if we can manage that. Very good, and back to the front. And release. Excellent. Good. Okay. And then the other side. So bring up the knee, take the foot, big toe. Keeping the knee gathered in towards the midline, growing the spine, and then growing and extending the leg. And then bringing the leg to the side. All the while keeping the trunk and the pelvis oriented forwards, broad chest. And then bring the leg forwards and release. And we come back again to Tadasana for a few moments. Okay, we're going to move into two standing poses that involve forward bending. So now we're going to come into Sadhita Padasana. So from the front of the mat, step your left leg back. Then turn the whole body to the long edge of the mat. Turning the feet in slightly, just in case you can't see the feet of everybody. More experienced people, you know this. Grounding the feet really well. So with this pose and poses like this, Padabandha needs to come into play really consciously. So we're engaging the feet, which means laterally spreading and grounding the feet to get that sense of the lift through the pose. Okay. Extend your arms out to the side and rest them onto the waist, and then exhale, fold forwards from the pelvis. Nice, clean, simple movement all the way down. Bring the hands onto the floor. Reclarify the length in the spine once more. Keep the legs engaged and the back of the pelvis broadening towards the outer edge of the hip joints. Okay. So you're broadening through the pelvis. Really important to get that sense of broadening out through the back of the pelvis. Engage the legs, and if you want, you can fold forwards into the more classical version of the pose,
crown of the head towards the floor. Okay. Obviously, don't force into that, or don't do that if it's too much on the back of the legs. You can bend the knees slightly and just stay with the hands on the floor, supporting the body. It's a more experienced version of the pose. Walking the hands back or taking the outer edge of the feet with the hands now. Okay, and then just encouraging yourself to draw into the poses slightly more deeply. You're doing that. So it's one of those postures, it's a semi-resting pose and a semi-active pose, with the heart center and the heart beneath the head beneath the heart rather. Difficult to have the other way around, wouldn't it? We're sort of enacting an inversion pose here, but we've got the whole activity of the legs going on for the pelvis. But it's more restful, obviously, as a standing pose than a lot of the other postures. It doesn't demand so much work. Okay, walking the hands forwards, going to come up in one smooth movement, bending the knees slightly, hands onto the hips, and up you come. Close the space between the feet a little bit, and step forwards. And the next in-breath, sweeping the hands up to the sky. On the out-breath, folding forwards, keeping the knees slightly bent as you come down, but the spine long. All the way down. We come into Bhujangasana. So there are many variations of Bhujangasana. There are 6 or 7 variations on this theme. Okay. Main principle is to, again, get the head down beneath the heart, lengthen the spine. And then you can practice whichever variation you're familiar with. So you're just taking the hands onto the floor, taking the hands underneath the feet, or the backs of the heels. Now you've got a softer variation of the pose where you're bending the knees and keeping the trunk resting on the thighs a little bit with the head down. And you've got the more advanced classical version of it, lengthening the legs and lifting up whilst trying to keep the spine lengthening. Okay, I'd like you now to have the hands on the floor if they're not already. Come back into downward facing dog one final time in this practice. Once we're back into downward facing dog, we're going to lift one of the legs, doesn't matter which one, extending it back and high. Pressing out of the hands to lengthen through the arms to the shoulders. Leg down, bring the other leg and extend that back high. And bring that leg down. Okay, I'd like you to come into sitting pose now. So we'll come into a position where we've got the right leg in front of the left leg. Okay, and we're going to bring the knees in towards each other more. Gathering the knees in, have the feet going further away, but the knees coming in. And then just make that little adjustment with the buttocks rolling one side, then the other side, and drawing the buttock out, just so you encourage the forward tilt of the pelvis slightly. Just sitting for a moment with the spine growing, this time out of the pelvis rather than out of the legs and the feet. And gently lengthening up. I'm just aware of the sort of sense that the practice has created in our whole system. Where is this sense of, if any, energy moving? How does that feel? So everything we experience through senses, through the sensory awareness, sensation, which we interpret as Vedana, pleasant, non-pleasant. So we're just going to quieten the practice down now as we head towards the meditation. I'd like you to interlock the fingers nice and closely at the roots of the fingers. We won't do the forward bending version of this. We're just going to do a twist. Extend the hands forwards and up. And just growing the spine once again. Breathing down to the abdomen, through the floor. And then with all that length we've gathered up through the spine through the whole practice, I'm going to start bringing that into a few basic twists. So rotating to the right side. You can support yourself in the twist in any way you want with a hand position. And allow the whole spine to be involved from the top of the lumbar spine through to the base of the neck. Okay, looking back to the center. Once again, loose, interlocking the fingers closely at the roots, sweeping the hands around and up. Do this last bit with the eyes closed, even if we want to, if in some way it helps to engage. You're going to rotate to the other side. Support the pose however you want. And rotating back to the front. Okay, we'd like you to come into a simple reclining twist now. So with the knees raised, lie back and just take any simple reclining twist you want, any version you want to take. Doesn't really matter. And then change to the other side. Come back to the center, and lastly, 10 times practice Apanasana, bringing the knees in towards the chest and floating them away. Very, very easy, light movement. Okay, then let's come into a meditation posture of our choosing. So we're going to do a practice here that's more open and not with stages or so much structure. We'll use the breath initially without counting. Just calmly observe, calmly knowing, calmly experiencing the breath. And of course, the breath now is just a simple breath of the body itself, not with an effort, not with a particular intention.
And just let the breath become quieter and subtler. So as we let go of an intention to breathe in any particular way, which is more to do with yoga. Now we'll just use the breath as a point of focus. So from the breath, we can just let our awareness broaden out. We just observe and notice directly what's going on in our experience. Always come back to the breath if it feels like it's too substantial. Sense of being at ease in the practice, not trying to get somewhere. Okay, we'll begin to close the practice now. I'm just taking your time to, your own way, free yourself from the meditation. Thank you very much, everybody. Pleasure, as always. See you next time, the week after next. Okay.